So folks, you're very welcome back to another episode of Behind the Walls with Pete and Ferg. So today we are absolutely delighted to have Stephen Farrell from the SEAI. I'm going to get Stephen to introduce himself in 2 seconds. So as always, we are making sure that everybody can understand what's happening when it comes to retrofit. We're going to try and keep it transparent. We're going to try and keep it jargon free. Did you hear me, Ferg? And we're going to try and keep it nice and simple so everybody can understand and everybody can get something from this. So, Stephen, how are you and who are you?
That's a very good question. Very complicated question for the first one. But just to say, first off, it's great that we're here. And this kind of came from a chat at 3 o'clock in the morning over a bit of diluted orange and a few bags of crisps. So I'm glad to see it has came to light. In terms of what I do, I work for SEAI. I've been working for SEAI since 2010. And I work in the National Retrofit Division. Okay, and kind of a lot of what we do is just retrofit deployment, trying to get people to install insulation, renewable technologies in their homes, and just try and get into their hearts and minds to see the benefit of becoming more energy efficient and going in that direction.
Great stuff. So Ferg, you are much more technical than I am in this. I am just the poor, simple, humble builder, the man of the people, the man who will ask the silly questions. We had Kieran from the SEAI in as well, and Kieran gave us a very good holistic view of what the SEAI do. So we may touch on one or two of those things, Stephen, but today we're going to delve into a little bit more detail. Yeah. So over to my beautiful assistant for the first question. Ferg, hit the man with the question.
Okay, so I suppose for the first question, Stephen, and this podcast is aimed at homeowners that have any interest at all in home energy upgrades. Yeah. So just for homeowners out there, what are the routes that they can take to improve the energy efficiency of their homes?
Good. It's a great question. I'll keep it short because I'm conscious you're a Kilkenny man and you're anxious to get back to Semple Stadium in a few hours. It's a great question because there's so much information out there and people are trying to decide what to do and what routes to take and so on. So we've worked very hard at this in SEAI and we've a great website. So if people go onto the website and across the top banner, you'll see the 3 pathways. So you have the Better Energy Homes pathway, you have the One Stop Shop pathway, and you have the Warmer Homes pathway. The Better Energy Homes is kind of you approach it on a measure by measure basis, say over 5 years. You mightn't have the budget to do a whole house retrofit, but you might want to take attic insulation year 1, cavity wall insulation year 2, maybe move towards a heat pump in year 3 or 4.
So that's an individual grant.
Individual grants. And a lot of people are in that situation. They don't have that budget to do a whole house retrofit. And you manage that yourself, and we've 1,400 contractors on the books that come out and do that work, and they're inspected and we oversee them and train them to ensure there's a high quality service delivered. The second one, and it's newly launched, is the One Stop Shop program. We're conscious that retrofitting can be complicated. The costs up front can be a lot, and the application process can put people off. So we've designed a program where we've 25 registered one-stop shops, and they've been through the mill in terms of the registration process, and they're top of their game in terms of quality and delivery. And they'll come in, they'll assess your house from the outset. They'll do all that complicated paperwork in terms of, perceived complicated paperwork to get the application in, so you don't have to do any of that. They'll set you out a list of measures to bring your house to a B2, and then they'll demystify the whole process. And so forth. And we've great grants, on average 25k for a multitude of measures, and the One Stop Shop program. And the One Stop Shop will project manage, they'll QA, they'll sign off on the works and so forth, and they'll bring in their tried and tested subcontractors. So you've that kind of anticipation that you're going to get a good service because they're taking responsibility of everything. And the key thing about the One Stop Shop is that grant amount that you get is deducted up front. So say, for example, you have a 50k upgrade and you qualify for a 25k grant. You don't have to find 50k and then wait for the 25k grant. You get that grant deducted off up front.
So just to summarise the first two there.
Yeah.
So the first one is the individual grants. So I would understand that very well.
Yeah.
I'm currently applying as we speak for my upgrade of a heat pump to my house, so I understand the process, and it wasn't that difficult, if I'm honest. Excellent website, quite easy to navigate and to get your application in. I got an instant answer to say that I was approved, and I've got the work done, and I'm going to be submitting my invoice soon and then hopefully getting my grant money back. And then the second option that you said is what Ferg is an expert at, because Ferg, you work for Envirobit and they are a one-stop shop, so you fully understand everything that Stephen is talking about there. The third option then is the Warmer Home Scheme. Is that correct?
Warmer Home Scheme, and it deals with people who are deemed energy poor. Okay, and if you're in receipt of the fuel allowance, non-ancillary care allowance, go onto our website. There's 5 or 6 criteria there. And that's nearly the first port of call, because a lot of people are in receipt of certain social welfare allowances, and we're doing great work on the warmer homes. Like, we upgraded 7,700 homes last year, and that's fully funded home energy upgrades, and we're moving into the heat pump space.
So say that again,
7,700
homes were done through the
fully funded through the warmer home scheme. And these are people who are deemed eligible poor, they're in receipt of the fuel allowance, so it's a great help, and it can improve their house. I've been in so many houses pre-works and then going into it post-works, and it's a totally different house, and it's all fully funded.
Super stuff.
Just on just a clarification on the application for warmer homes. That's a direct application to SEAI rather than dealing directly with a contractor. So just so homeowners understand that if you are eligible, you do contact SEAI rather than going down through contacting One Stop Shop.
Exactly. It's a great clarification point, Ferg, because you go onto our website, Warmer Homes button, you click on it and you'll see the application process, and then the SEAI Warmer Homes team will take you through the process.
Very good. So again, the starting point for anybody that's listening or looking at us here today is to go to your website, and then they can choose one of those 3 routes that suits them. And again, we spoke to Kieran about this as well, but we're going to touch on this briefly. Who is eligible? Am I right in saying every single house in the country, not just a person, the house is what basically gets you the grant? Correct. And it's through our MPRN number, which is basically, if you look at your ESB bill, there's an MPRN number on it, and that is what gets you through the eligibility.
That's
part
correct.
of your
So we'd have a key rule for your fabric measures. It's pre-2011. For your renewable measures such as your solar PV and your heat pump, it's before 21. And the reason we set those years of construction is because the building regs have developed over time, and the fabric on a house built in 2015 is at a good position anyway. We're trying to get people up to a B2. It's not just, we'd love people to get to an A, but in terms of the cost optimal, in terms of your best bang for buck, aim for the B2 side of it.
So just to simplify that again, so if you are living in a house that was built before 2011, you are eligible for the fabric and for the upgrade for solars and that type of stuff as well.
Exactly, yeah.
And then it's pretty much any of the houses after 2011 are more sort of guided towards
the heat pump and the solar panel. And it's just a stress out there. Like we'd be doing a lot of talking to homeowners and so forth, and on the individual energy grants route, like we improved the grants in 2022, and like for attic insulation, say 300 mil of attic insulation in your attic, 30% of your heat goes up through your roof. So it's a great addition to the property. And then if you pump your walls, say if you have cavity wall construction, if you pump your wall, that's another 30% of energy you're saving going out through your walls. So those 2 kind of low level measures, you're saving possibly 60% of your energy usage. And the grants, like we set the grants at 80% there for those 2 measures. So I'd always say anyone in the country, they should, if they have cavity wall construction, so you have 2 leaves, an inner leaf and an outer leaf, that we pump with bead and glue, and then 300 mil in your attic, every house in the country should be in that position. They've insulated the walls in the attic. Absolutely.
So again, just to simplify this and be very clear, get up into your attic and have a look. And if you don't have 300 mil of insulation in your attic, you are pretty much eligible to get a grant to get that done. We did speak to Kieran, and we will sort of touch on the demystification of people always say this, but if I go through the SEAI grant, they're going to charge me more for it. But the difference is very clear. If you get, let's say, a one person in the van, not a one man in the van, Farrell, they will come up and they will do an element of the work without getting the grant, but they won't do it to the quality. It won't be inspected. They may do it to the quality, but they may not. It won't be inspected. And again, I want to bring Ferg in now. We're very quiet today, Ferg, but I want to bring Ferg in now in a second. But Fergal, you're obviously, working the one-stop shop all the time, and you can tell us the benefits of the one-stop shop now in a few minutes. But again, just to clarify what Stephen was saying, your attic and your walls, it's so simple. It's like walk outside on a cold day. What's the first thing you're going to do? You're going to put a hat on. Heat rises. I see it all the time when we're doing the TV show and when I'm doing work on people's homes. I get up into the attic and there's not a screed of insulation in it. It's mental to think in this day and age, there's so many houses out there across the country that have no insulation in their attic. It's bonkers.
It is.
And then you go to the wall, you check the vent and you're looking in, it could be an empty cavity, or it could be the old white insulation, or it could be like a cavity wall construction or something like that, cavity block construction. these are such easy fixes and they're such great gains. And the grants, in my opinion, for both of them are quite generous in terms of they do cover a lot of the cost of that work. Yeah. So again, let's move into the one-stop shop now. Ferg, over to you. Come on, this is a duo now. I'm not doing all the talking.
It's hard to get a word in edgeways.
Monday morning.
These dubs tend to have that kind of... But the quiet country lad here now will say a few words if you don't mind, Pete.
Good Kilkenny man, go on.
But yeah, there's a lot being said there. I think it's important, very important, that when we look at this, I'll call it a myth, but obviously when it comes to an attic is a great example. When it comes to attic works, the man or person in the van, Pete, can probably do it cheaper than an SEAI registered contractor. But the SEAI registered contractor is under the supervision and is subject to inspection by SEAI. So there's a certain quality expected there. There's an awful lot of work that goes into an attic. It might sound simple, we'll roll out insulation, but there's more to it than that. There's lagging pipes, there's insulating water tanks, there's providing walkways. There's all kinds of aspects to attic insulation that may not be covered in the person in the van's attitude towards it. But again, just to go back to the one-stop shop.
Can I just jump in on that though? Sorry, Ferg, and I know I said I'd let you talk, but I can testify to that because it happens when I'm on a job where I would get a contractor in who is approved to do the attic insulation or to do any aspect of a grant work, and they do get inspected, you know, and I'm going to be honest, Stephen, you're a bit of a pain in the arse. That's the God's honest truth, because the level of detail that the SEAI inspectors go into, it's very detailed. Again, I'm just going to be totally honest. When this was first rolled out, I said to myself, how are they going to actually monitor this? How are they going to take control of it? You absolutely have done that. Yeah. I would say out of, let's say 10 jobs that I may have done that went through different grants, at least 8 of them have been inspected. And there has been I'd say probably out of that 3 or 4 very small, if I'm honest with you, nitpick type of stuff that has been picked out. And I had to get the contractor to go back and they had to get it done. So therefore the homeowners get this absolute moment of satisfaction to know that the work has been done correctly, and that's the difference. Because if nobody's inspecting it or nobody, and again, even if someone does inspect it, maybe they don't fully understand what they're inspecting, whereas when the SEAI inspector comes out and has a look at it, he understands exactly what was supposed to be done and he made sure he gets it done.
Yeah. So it is a great point, and it's something that we're working on. See, we take a risk-based approach. So if we see you going out and you do 10 attics and we inspect and all's good, we'll reduce our inspection rate.
Fair enough.
The main thing about the whole inspection
process... Maybe I wasn't getting it.
I wouldn't do that with
That's theoretically. But the thing is, it just drives consumer confidence, okay? That they know they're getting all the cables in the attic aren't covered. Okay, you have a safe walkway to your boards. All your tanks are lagged, so there's no freezing pipes when the weather dips. Your insulation is rolled out to the wall plate so you don't get the mold growth at the side. All these things are simple, but they're key.
Ventilation in attics is hugely important.
Absolutely hugely important.
And again, I'm going to be totally honest here, a lot of contractors don't understand that.
And
that's the God's honest truth. They may be very good at certain aspects of construction, but if they don't know the full remit of what they're supposed to be doing, whether it's insulating an attic or even worse, a wall, because how many times have we seen terrible work done? You know, yes, they've put this insulation on a wall, but let's say it's a wall that it needs to breathe, and then they put an insulation on it that doesn't allow it breathe. You get huge problems. The way the simple man's terms on this will be, it's like going to a backstreet garage where a guy will fix your car and get it going again. The chances are it'll probably break down in 6 months' time again, and you'll have to go back to them. Whereas if you go to a main dealer, you can be pretty sure they're going to send you a video, they're going to give you a full breakdown of what they've done, and that's the difference between, in my opinion, an SEAI approved contractor and then someone who just comes in and does it. You could be lucky, but there's a high risk.
But there's an important point there that I suppose back in the 70s, when we look at what was called dry lining, we now call it internal wall insulation.
Yes.
But there was, we have come across where you take off original dry lining and replace it, but they've actually put polythene on the walls.
And it's sweating.
Now, I would always say, if you wanted to grow mushrooms, that is the way to do it.
And that's a big fear, because we're driving the whole retrofit, okay? And people want to do their best, but they need to pause, they need to talk to the experts and get the right advice. Like, we've launched a traditional homes pilot program at the end of last year. That's what it's designed for, to treat these homes that were built from solid construction. So I'm talking about solid masonry, solid bricks. They need to be looked at differently. So what we have is we have a one-stop shop.
Hold on. I'm going to hold you there.
Go on.
Right? Let's get into the one-stop shops and then let's get into the traditional homes pilot scheme, because I'm actually really interested in this, and I'm going to learn a good bit from what we say here.
Yeah.
But let's talk about the one-stop shop because some people probably won't understand it. So let's give us your take on it, and then Stephen, you can correct him when he says anything wrong.
Yeah, look, the one-stop shop, in all the years I've been working with SEAI programs and schemes, this is a simplified version for any homeowner to apply for grants. The application is very simple. The whole structure of the grants, and the grants have improved, but I suppose unfortunately over the last year we've had the perfect storm with increase in prices. Pete will tell you that from general building.
Absolutely.
The energy efficiency works get a bad name, but I think it's across the board. I know it's across the board.
100%.
And prices have gone up. But in saying that, the grants that were launched in February 2022 were very strong grants. There's a couple we might need to look at, Stephen.
I think I know the ones you're going to say.
We might need to improve slightly. But I suppose, look, just to clarify again for homeowners listening to this podcast, that the eligibility for one-stop shop is a house inhabited pre-2011.
That's it, yeah.
Has to have a BER rating of B3 or less.
Or less, yeah.
And the qualifications then for the upgrade works is you must achieve a B2 minimum, and you must achieve 100 kilowatt hour
uplift
per metre squared uplift.
Yeah.
Now, not to get too technical, that's basically, if anyone knows what a BER cert looks like, you can see the different grades, and they generally jump by 25.
Yeah.
So you can see what you have to jump to get there.
And your BER assessor will be great there. He'll
Absolutely.
Put the pat out for you.
The pathway is very important, and the one-stop shop is, I suppose, your starting point is a home energy assessment, and that's important to mention. The home energy assessment will give the homeowner a roadmap. They mightn't look at any other details in this report, but these are a very important set of reports to make educated decisions on what measures you need to install to achieve the criteria that we just spoken about. From homeowners that you're dealing with or you talk to, what are the general gist that comes back from One Stop Shop?
It's great. Like it's positive and negative. Like you get a good idea of the sentiment out there and the amount of people that are interested in upgrading, because a lot of people get home energy upgrades, and we could see 6,000 home energy upgrades coming through over a specific period of time, and it's great because it gives us an idea of, because there's a good focus here. People are looking to future-proof, and home energy assessment is great because it gives people the knowledge to make a decision. So if people get a home energy assessment and they see, well, that's my pathway to get my house to a B or
but
an
they
A.
can also go individual.
They can also go individual.
Yes.
So again, sorry lads, just to break that down very simply for people at home, a home energy assessment is basically an assessor comes to your home, they have a look at the fabric of your walls, your roof, your windows, your floors, and they make an assessment. Basically what it is what it says, but just to break it down, it basically is like a very simplified breakdown of the fabric of your building, which basically tells you how energy efficient your home is, and therefore you can then use that as your template or as your pathway to make your decisions as to what you got to need to do. So it's the information that you need, and it's done very well. I've seen it, like I got it done in my home, and it was very easy to read. My wife was able to read it, and we were able to sit down and make decisions about what do we need to upgrade. And it's a very, very good tool. The other point I'd like to make as well is that it's not means tested. So when you are applying for a grant, it doesn't matter what you've got going on in your life. It doesn't matter if you're, working or not working. It's the home that gets the grant. It's not you. So you're not means tested. It's your home, and if your home is eligible, and if you move house, you actually can go again for another grant.
It follows the
new
MPRN.
House. Yeah, follows the MPRN. Sorry, so go ahead there again about the next steps.
The HEA, so you get the HEA, as you said, you'll see an estimate quote at the bottom of the HEA, and that'll ultimately say, oh God, it's a bit higher than I thought. Do you know what? We'll take this in a 5-year project. We'll do A, B, and C. We'll get our house up to a C rated.
So you're saying that there'll be an amount of money at the end?
At the end.
So
okay, and it's important. And also you'll see the deduction of the grant.
Okay.
And so that I have to find X. Do you know what? It's not for me. We'll go down the individual route and we'll take a step-by-step approach. Okay.
And just cut across you, it's very important to emphasise that SEAI provide a grant for the home energy assessment, which is,
that's right.
It doesn't tie into doing any works.
Yeah.
It's just for the assessment, because I would get an awful lot of inquiries about now that if I do the assessment with you, do I have to do the work with you? No, you don't. You can shop around with one-stop shops, but you can also go the individual measure route as well, just to make sure that comes across.
It gives people confidence, because if you get a HEA off One-Stop Shop A and you get a particular quote, and you go out to One-Stop Shop B and they give you a similar quote, you say, oh, do you know what? That's the ballpark. You get a third one. That's the ballpark. So it's that consumer confidence as well that you perceive. But the main thing is, and Ferg, you'd always say to me, yeah, we did a lot of HEAs, but you know what? They could come true in 2 years' time, because people are just thinking. So it gives them the knowledge and the basis. What are we going to do here? How much time do we need? Do we want to go down the individual route, do it bit by bit? With 18 months, get a bit of finance together. Look into the Home Energy Upgrade Loan Scheme, which is delivered through the one-stop shops and the project coordinators. It's a government-backed loan that you can get low interest rates between 5 and 75k, which is brilliant over a 10-year period. The interest rates are much lower than the loans you'd get, a standard loan you'd get in the bank. So you can look into those details. And a lot of the one-stop shops are expert in this area as well.
And that information, is that on your website?
All on the website, on the website. So take 10, 15 minutes aside, go into the different. We've worked hard to try and intuitively set out the website and through the different links, and you can see the different areas of support that are there.
And that's SEAI.ie.
And so forth. So that the HEA, the Home Energy, I know we don't want to go into acronyms.
No acronyms allowed. They've said it about 3 or 4 times.
Exactly.
So the HEA is the Home Energy Assessment. And again, what is that? It's a very simplistic, easy to read list of, it's a report basically on your home, and don't be afraid to get one done. I know we're all a little bit, we don't want them to see that room, whatever. It's great. The person comes in, they don't just drive by and do, that's what that is. They come in, they have a quick look, but they're not looking into your drawers or anything like that. They just want to know the fabric you're building.
And there's €350 of a grant towards that.
Brilliant.
It's a great document to make a decision on.
Yeah.
Because we find a lot of homeowners are sitting there, they want to do their bit, but they don't know how much things cost.
Yeah.
They don't know the approach. Like the key part of the home energy assessment is your BR pathway. Everyone's talking about BR, I want to get my house to a B or an A, do my bit, improve the asset value of a house, which is very important.
Yes.
And then translate that into cold hard cash, how much is it going to cost me?
Yeah.
And
so again, for homeowners, again, because myself and Stephen, maybe Pete is after hearing this for the last, but I'm hearing this for the last 10 years, fabric first. Yeah. So if you look at the roadmap, it will actually show you each measure, how it affects your rating, how it improves your BER, but it'll always list attic, walls, windows, doors, floors first.
And it's a great point because I'm always kind of, this whole fabric first principle, we're always talking about it, and I kind of explain it in a way in terms of energy use. 20% of your energy use is electrical. So your appliances, your lights, your TV, all that type of stuff. 20% is heating your hot water. And 60%, does that come to 100? I think it was 60% is your heating, your space heating. So what we're trying to get people to do is reduce that demand on your space heating. And the way you do that is you just put a quilt around your house. You get the walls insulated and the roof insulated. And that's your first port of call. We've so many people putting solar PV panels on the roof. But the demand is still the same in terms of the heat demand.
So to me, I would always call solar PV or photovoltaics.
Cherry on top.
Cherry on top is exactly the phrase. And again, it's important to emphasise, if you have a gas or oil boiler, like heat pumps get a terrible name because you have to do all this extra work for a heat pump. But if you have a gas or oil boiler rather than an ass boiler, I don't know what that is. But if you have a gas or oil boiler, if your walls are insulated, I mean, if you think about it, and you've said it there, Stephen, if you form an envelope around your house, up the walls, across the attic, back down the other walls, floors, if need be, not as important as the walls and windows and attic, but you're trying to heat the house for the least amount of time. You're trying to keep it in for as long as you can. And no matter what your heating system is, the poor old heat pump gets an awful name for having to do all this extra work. But I mean, if I had a gas boiler at home, which I don't, I have a heat pump, but if I had a gas boiler at home, I would still look at insulating my walls and my attic and check your windows and doors, because you're trying to keep that heating system on for the least amount of time and you're trying to keep the heat in for as long as you can. It's very simple.
I do always say the heat rises, it hits the ceiling. Insulate your ceiling first, then it's going to come down. The next place it's going to want to go out is out through your walls, insulate your walls, then it's your openings, which is your windows.
Hot air rises, and this ceiling must be roasting.
I'll give you a simple analogy is when it's snowing. And we've all heard this before. You're driving by two semi-Ds, one house has a snow on the roof, the other one doesn't. Okay, the reason why the one doesn't is because all the heat is coming out,
Or they're growing something in there.
Whereas
Yeah.
the smart,
check out my Instagram. I've done a great post on it.
the smart geyser has the walls, everything insulated, and the
Yeah.
snow is still on the roof.
Yeah.
Another quick story that I had, and we're at the Ideal Homes and just trying to meet as many people as we can, putting them in the right direction and making them advise them on grants. But an old boy came up to me and he said, "Oh God, I have hollow block walls and the cost of external wall insulation is crazy. It's much more expensive than pumping the wall, the cavity wall." And I says, I was kind of sympathising with him. I know but it's a great solution. And he says, "Well, I'm after spending 12k on solar PV." So he spent the 12k reducing that 20% of energy demand. Whereas I said, like, I didn't want to say it to him, but it was in the back of my mind, if you put that 12k on top of the 8k external wall insulation grant, you have a 20k pot there that you can go to your approved external wall insulation contractors and get the house wrapped so you don't put your heating on. Because your heating is the big drive, your space heating is the big driver for energy use.
Let's spend a minute on external wall insulation then as well. Just again, for people who may not fully understand exactly what that is, it's a wrap of insulation that goes on the exterior of your house. So it gets fixed to the exterior walls of your house, and then that gets rendered. So the advantages to it are nothing internally in your house is touched. So the tiles in your bathroom, your kitchen, your stairs, all of those kind of awkward areas, you don't have to touch them. Whereas if you're dry lining or putting warm board on the inside of your home, all of those do get touched. But then also you get this lovely new clean finish on the exterior of your house. You can also get lots of different finishes on it. So you can have a rendered finish, lots of different colours. You can go for pink if you like, Fergal, no problem at all. You can go for brick effect. You can go for loads of different things. You can paint it Tipperary colours if you want to, Fergal, even though you're Kilkenny man. But genuinely, it's a double whammy, because you get your insulation, but you also get a brand new, fresh look on the outside of your house. You've got a few challenges. You've got your downpipes and your gutters and those type of things.
Party walls and stuff like that.
Yeah, stuff like that. But again, you honestly, you would drive down the road of a housing estate.
It's a lift. It lifts the house.
Absolutely. And all you would think is, oh, they painted a house, but in reality what they could have actually done is put an external wrap on it. So that's very good.
The folks got it done recently and they keep raving about it.
Brilliant.
And my dad pulls out the bins from the bills from this time last year and comparing. It's just totally different.
And the warmth in a home after it's done before is like the difference, the feel in the home is phenomenal. Yeah. I would also say as well, now your windows will give you a much better acoustic, with the first benefit for acoustic, but I feel when an external wrap goes on, you can nearly feel the difference in terms of the acoustics as well, you know. Yeah. We'll move on now, because I cut across you about this, the pilot scheme. Sorry,
I was in full flow.
I'm a cut across arm type of person, but the traditional homes pilot scheme. Let's talk about that. Explain it. Please make it Annan Barry so people can fully understand where we're at.
Who's Annan Barry?
Annan Barry is where
that's
the level I deal
show
with
my
most
age.
of the time.
Annan Barry.
It's like foundation maths.
Not Jack and Jill. No, it's Annan Barry.
A lot of homes built. There's I think 16% of homes in Ireland were built. We say before 1940. Okay, and that type of construction before 1940 was typically solid masonry, solid stone, and so forth. After 1940 into the 1950s, modern forms of construction like cavity wall, hollow block came into play, timber frame later on. So our grant schemes at the minute, the Better Energy Homes, the individual grants, and the one-stop shop standard, they deal with modern forms of construction, so your cavity walls and your hollow blocks. We've introduced an SEAI pilot scheme to retrofit these older forms of construction, your solid walls. And the key thing there is older walls built, say, in the 1800s, when it rained, the moisture seeped into the wall and has to evaporate. So the wall has to breathe. Whereas the more modern stuff built today, it kind of keeps the moisture out. It's a totally different approach. So our pilot scheme, we're looking to get 100 of these older homes. They get the same grants as the one-stop shops. They're delivered through our professional one-stop shops, but we're looking for, they need to link up with an architect, engineer or surveyor with conservation experience to help them to design a solution for your house, because it needs to be taken seriously in terms of the moisture and the heat in the wall when you're retrofitting your home and improving the insulation, that if it's not done right, you'll get moisture build-up on the internal side of the wall. It's there hidden behind the modern form of insulation you install, and there can be issues years to come in terms of mold growth, spores, general health issues. So what we're doing is we've 100 homes. We're trying to get them through the pilot. We've 25 on the books at the minute. We're looking for 75, 80 more. And the key is that the one-stop shop delivers the correct solution with the advice from the conservation architect, building surveyor or engineer. And the key thing is they can avail of the one-stop shop grants. And what we do is we don't look for the same level of insulation on the house.
It's not as rigorous.
It's not as rigorous. And
there's a bit of leeway, yeah.
We don't have to hit the B2. It's what the correct solution is for the house. Yeah. That's the approach there. Plus, we're also trying to inform the market. Like, you have to look at homes and look at the hygrothermal dynamic in the home. And we need kind of...
That's a big word.
It is. It talks about... It's basically the moisture and heat.
Yeah.
And how that's affected when you retrofit your home.
So I'm going to give you the caveman summarisation of what you've just said, because I've actually got a huge amount of experience of this.
Yeah.
I've done a huge amount of conservation work in houses, Dublin city centre, down the country, big stately homes, all of these type of things. So basically, they're built with stone walls, random rubble walls, and then sometimes, especially the higher you went up, it could turn into brick then as well. I've got 2 jobs on my books at the moment that are in this exact situation. So what Stephen is basically saying is that those homes are now eligible for this pilot scheme. So there's 100 homes across the country, and they will work with you, give you the same grants, but they'll allow you to use some different products that you wouldn't have been able to use to get the grant for the other SEAI grants for the more modern homes. And this is really, really important. And Stephen is absolutely 100% right in what he said there. Those old buildings, you've heard the old saying, oh, sure, you know, that was built 200 years ago, and sure, look at now, it's better than any of the more recent homes. And the reason being is because, and the reason why those houses are still in really good condition is because there was no insulation in them. Single glazed windows, there was no felt on the roofs, there was no air tightness. So basically the wind was flying through the house, and it was breathing. It was breathing, which is brilliant, but like anything, those homes are absolutely freezing cold. So what we're trying to do now is, and that was fine 100 years ago, 50 years ago even, but now us humans have become softer, Fergal. It's a simple fact of life, and we like our comforts. So we like these lovely big homes because they got character. We like the fact that they're beautiful homes, but they're freezing cold and extremely inefficient to run as well. Therefore, you're not just buying the house, you're also buying the bill to heat that home. Now with this scheme, you're able to actually properly insulate your home, reduce the cost to run it, and obviously make the house more energy efficient by using different products. Classic example, diatomite plaster on the walls, different type of insulation in the ceiling than you would have been able to use before. It's an excellent scheme. I'm absolutely delighted that it's come out, because my last point on it is the amount of calls that I get, and someone unfortunately says to me, look, I got a builder in, he was a lovely guy, he did this, lovely group of people came in and did the work, but now I'm getting kind of dampness, or I'm getting sweating behind the walls, and it's a disaster. All that good money has been... It's simply because someone didn't know, they thought they were doing the right thing, they've used the wrong product in that situation. So how do people apply for that?
It's quite simply, we have 25 one-stop shops, so we've a selection of about 16 on the website. So if you go into the website and try SEAI.ie and type in traditional homes, you'll see the 16 one-stop shops that are involved in the programme. You click on their details and you give them a call. They come out, they'll assess your home. But the key thing there is that Ferg will link up with an expert who knows how to specify the correct products for these homes and has a design to back it up. And that expert then will sign off that the solution is correct. And it's for people to understand, I know that expert advice comes at a bit of a cost, but it's far more costly if you proceed down the route of not informed, and then 5-6 years times there's issues.
Yeah, and I think
walls,
it's important that in 10 years we're not retrofitting the retrofits.
Maladaptation.
That's a huge point to make. But again, what Pete was talking about, he said we weren't to get technical here, and now he's throwing in technical terms.
Yeah, he totally went back
to luring you in with
just
a bit
of show off.
Yeah, I noted that.
Most intelligent guy in the room here. But,
well, now that you say it,
it is important though that to understand that modern insulation methods won't work in traditional homes. And as an example, in terms of stone or a stone building in particular, if you externally insulate that with an impenetrable finish, they're usually finished in acrylic or silicone, which is impenetrable, well then the moisture that's already in the stone has only one way to go, and that's inside. So you don't want a waterfall inside when you're finished with your lovely aesthetically new insulated house. So it's important that that is looked at.
People understand
from a homeowner point of view, just if SEAI are going to improve this in any way, I would suggest that there's some funding towards the conservative architect.
Yeah.
That's
that's a great
It's not a
point.
conservative architect, it's a conservation architect.
conservation architect.
Engineers
Sorry.
are conservative.
It's a balance.
Apologies, yeah.
It's a balance. But it's a great point. But that's why we have the pilot. Like our aim is to get 100 of these homes,
Yes,
see the
yeah.
costs associated with the different materials being selected, the different professionals that are focusing in this area.
Yeah.
What are the barriers, the pinch points? So when we move out of pilot stage and into mainstream, like it's 300,000 of these homes in the country.
Absolutely, yeah.
So we'll have good information to form decisions.
Yeah, that's what I was about to ask you. So it's a pilot scheme, it's 100 houses.
Yeah.
Okay, that's great.
Yeah.
So are you going to take that data? Are you going to go
Oh, it
back?
has to be. That's the basis of all pilots. It's a test bed. We're learning what's the cost of this. We're applying the one-stop shop grants, which are very generous.
Which is great. 'Cause
They
they
it's great
wouldn't
to
have
see.
been eligible for them. Until
True.
now.
We've kind of adapted if there's protected structures. Obviously the conservation advice, the conservation officer is crucially important. We secondary glazing grant support as well. So working around the different restrictions.
And again, pilots are very important.
Yeah.
If you look back on previous SEAI schemes or programs, the deep retrofit pilot scheme was what laid the foundations for the current one-stop shop.
Excellent pilot.
So exactly.
And then we
a lot
took
of learnings from that.
We took a lot from that, and it helped inform the whole one-stop shop approach, the whole house retrofit approach, which is so important. If you're insulating walls, if you're making your house more airtight, that you're thinking of ventilation, mechanical ventilation, and so on. So it's like when a one-stop shop goes in, it's not a measure-by-measure approach. I'll just insulate the walls and walk away. They're considering the whole house and the whole structure after it's been improved and the air tightness is improved and so on.
Excellent stuff. I'm delighted that we discussed that. I think that was a good robust discussion. So going to hit you with a few bullet points here now.
Yeah.
You can answer these. We may have asked here on something similar, but that's okay.
Can I phone a friend?
Absolutely. You don't need to. I know you're a wealth of knowledge. So again, simplified answers, please.
Yeah.
Keep them short. Who can apply for an SEAI grant?
Any homeowner. It's NPRN based. You have to live in a house that is built pre-2011 for fabric and pre-2021 for renewable technologies. If you're in receipt of fuel allowance or a few other social welfare payments, go onto our website, you'll see the list of them. You need to call that Warmer Homes number and see if you're eligible for the Warmer Homes grant. If you've got a grant for a specific measure before, you can't get a grant for that again. So say, for example, if you got a grant for 300 mil attic insulation, and for some reason you want to apply again, our systems don't allow that because there's no need to do it. So it's open to the public, but it's mainly if you live in a house pre-2011 for fabric and pre-21 for renewable technology.
Shoot with a question there.
Yeah, I suppose the important one again is for one-stop shop. The difference between one-stop shop and individual, there's extra incentives for going through the one-stop shop.
Yeah. Like there's a suite of one-stop shop grants. I think the maximum grant you can get is in the order of 35, 37.
But it's like for individual grants, you can't get windows and doors, you can't get ventilation, you can't get floors.
Thanks for pinpointing that. It is. Our individual grant scheme is focused on the most impactful measures. So if you go into our Better Energy Homes individual grant scheme, you'll see attic insulation, wall insulation, a heat pump, and solar PV and solar thermal. And they're the most impactful, okay? So we're trying to get homeowners to spend their money in the best places to reduce their heat loss by 30% for roof, 30% again for wall. When you look at windows and doors, it's a huge seller for people. They want windows and doors. I think if we had a grant of 20 million in the morning,
you could spend your whole budget on windows and doors.
And we'd be all laughing. But the problem is they spend their money all on windows and doors, and they're only improving the energy efficiency of their house, typically 10 to 15%. So that's why on the individual approach, you do bit by bit. We're trying to get people to focus on the most impactful. When you go onto the one-stop shop, which is whole house approach, we include windows and doors, mechanical ventilation, air tightness, because there's a B2 requirement, and the one-stop shop has the knowledge to approach it on a whole house retrofit. So they'll know, hold on, you need to do your walls.
I mean, it's just important to let homeowners know that there's an extra incentive for doing it all in the one.
All in the one. So we give a bonus for a whole house approach. of 2K. And there's project management, because there's a lot project management bonus. Say detached house gets another 2K. Yeah. So the grants are really generous, topping out at 37K.
You can't underestimate that as well, though, the support that you get with a one-stop shop, because like, look, the era that we live in, I know myself, even for me to get tradespeople to come and work for me is quite difficult. I have to give them 2 and 3 weeks notice, whereas I used to be able to just ring up a fella and say, will you come and work for me next week? That day is gone. There's a huge shortage of trades, and if you've got somebody who's going to come in like Enviro or in One Stop Shop and manage the job for you, it takes away a huge amount of hassle. Next question, we're getting close to the end. But
there's another important point. I love interrupting you, Pete.
Quid pro quo.
The One Stop Shop relies on the One Stop Shop is kind of held to quality.
Yeah.
They have to finish the house, give you a B2, sign it off, pass the inspection, and then the One Stop Shop gets the grant. So you've the money deducted off up front. So you're in it. You're in it till the end. So ensuring that quality of service.
You may not have this answer off the top of your head, but I'm going to try it anyway. How much money have the SEAI spent to date? How much grants have they actually given out? Quantity wise.
Great question.
Do you know the answer?
I know a lot. I know last year alone we funded 616 million in grant support.
So 616
million in grant support. So that's for homeowners, businesses, communities and so forth. Like, it's a significant amount, and we're escalating towards 800 to $1 billion.
So it's a big investment, yes.
Huge investment.
So this is free money from the government that is given to people. So again, if you're listening to this, get on the train. Yeah. I've never been given free money in my life. I've applied for it. I better get it off this man here.
Yeah.
But genuinely, why would you not apply for the grant? Like, that's the question I just say to people. Like, if I get up into an attic and I see there's no insulation in it, I'm saying, why have you not applied for the grant to get the insulation in your attic? It is free money.
Like, there's huge activity out there.
Yeah.
And competing for work and so forth. Like, last year, 54,000 people availed of our grants. Like, that's a huge number. Yeah. And it was over 50K again the previous year. And it's growing. And I think that amounted to 420 million. So it's huge. Savage. It's huge money. And the key thing as well is that you're providing consistent work for subcontractors that you trust.
Yeah.
And they're getting so used to the standards and specifications. So when they go up to an attic, they know what they're doing. They're getting faster, more efficient. They have their own sign-off sheets and quality management systems in place. So it's all about building that confidence. But there's a huge amount of people future-proofing their homes, creating a healthier environment for their families and so forth, moving to insulating the homes, keeping the heat in, healthier environments, moving away from solid fuels.
Yeah.
Like, over 1,000 illnesses is due to air pollution. Yeah. From solid fuels. That's gone now.
I'd always call it a triple win, because you're getting a grant, free money.
Yeah.
You're improving the quality of your home and the value of your home, and you're helping the environment. Like, it really is a win-win-win situation. Any last questions, Ferg? We're going to wrap it up.
No, I just like to thank Stephen. Great to see you again.
It's great to see you.
Thanks a million for coming in to talk to us.
And I'm conscious you need to get back to Southfield Stadium.
That was months ago.
But genuinely, Stephen, thanks a million for coming in. No so anyone that's listening or anyone that's looking, like, this sounds mad, but before I met the SEAI lads, I always thought they were like the FBI or something. There were these people that went around in suits. So it sounds very sexy and very cool.
Yeah, it does.
Look, they're real ordinary people, and they're here to support you. They're here to give you the grants. They're not trying to catch you out. They're not trying to means test you. They're not trying to do anything. There's basically a mission statement and a goal to try and improve the energy efficiency across the country. And how they're trying to incentivize people to do that is to give grants. Sometimes the grants aren't high enough. I know you're working on that all the time. Sometimes they change, but that's why people like Fergal and maybe myself can give you some information on that. And of course, the Behind the Walls podcast can help you out on it as well. So again, thanks very much, Stephen.
No problem.
Thanks very much, Ferg. I think you spoke for about three or 4 seconds there.
Get a word in there with the dubs, I told you.
As always, folks, if you have any questions, don't be afraid to reach out to us through social media. Ask us any questions that we didn't give you enough detail on. We will get Stephen in again. We will make sure we hammer him to get all those answers. And again, go to the SEAI website, have a look at it, see if you can figure it out. If you can't, let us know. Feedback. I can tell you one thing, like, I know Justine and other people from the SEAI, they love getting feedback and seeing how they can improve it. Any questions on one-stop shops, get onto this man here as well. We touch on some great subjects. We've got lots more coming up. Make sure you keep on tuning in and follow the Behind the Walls podcast with Pete and Ferg. Over and out.